You realize that Pastor Brian didn't give me any time limit, so I promise you within 4 hours I'll be done. And I'll step out of your way. But thank you very much. I know we've been sitting for. Please, can you stand again? Can you stand again? Can you stand? Can you stand? Please, 1 minute. 1 minute. Can you stand? Can you stretch your hands? Don't put your fingers in anybody's eyes. I mean, if you have a problem with them, we'll go out and solve. But just stretch. Then give somebody a virtual high five. Give them a virtual high five. Now you may be seated. Now be seated. It's going to be fast. It's going to be furious. Then I'll step out of your way. Pastor Brian, thank you very much for this opportunity, and also your team for what you are doing here in Ghana. This is the go-to conference for the youth all over the world, and by the miracle of technology in cyberspace, possibly thousands and millions of people are watching with you today. I count it a very happy and humbling privilege to be called upon all the time. Pastor Brian and I have a relationship that goes beyond just standing here. He knows that even if I wasn't a speaker, I'll still come and support because of how much I believe in this man and I believe in what he's doing. That is it. You know, just in case you've forgotten, my first name is Frank. So anything I want to say, I can say it. I can even tell you to go to hell in such a way that you look forward to the experience. You know. So, Pastor Brian, again, thank you very, very much and for this and for what you have started in Ghana. It is a fire that will never be extinguished because it's touching many lives, nations, cultures, and everybody. I hear there were some stories told here that I couldn't. Now, I'm going straight into business. You know me already. I'm a pastor, I'm a preacher, but I'm not going to preach. I'll not preach to you. I just want to share some few things with you because you've heard the politicians come. They've given out of their expertise and the overflow of the wealth of who they are. You're going to have the media personalities. You're going to have the digital person, everything. My slant is leadership, as it were, and I'm looking at something that I really want to share with you today. You know, Pastor Brian, some time back, I stood at the beach, and I was watching the waves coming and go. And as I was standing there, locked in my mind, observing the waves, I saw a phenomenon. And that informs what I'm going to just share with you in these few minutes. I mean it, and I'll step out of your way. I realized that anytime the incoming wave came out, it had to go back. And as it was going back, it met a new incoming wave, and it caused a lot of agitation on the sea. Then it struck me that many times, the greatest threat to the incoming wave is the outgoing wave. The greatest threat to the incoming wave is the outgoing wave. And so I realized that there is a lot of agitation in the world today from the youth, because it could be possible that the outgoing generation is fighting the incoming generation. And so there's agitation. So I'm going to be an advocate to try to build a bridge between my generation and your generation, so that there'll be a seamless transition, as it were, because being the age that I am right now, for information, I'm only 14 years old, and being the age that I am right now, I am reminded of the brevity of our lives and how much time we may not have, as it were, compared to what you have. And so we have to put everything we have at your disposal, so that you will be able to look further and do bigger and do whatever than we have done. And so in these few minutes, I'm talking to you about standing on the shoulders of giants, so that you can see very well. Now, get these two things straight as I go ahead. Number one, determine that at iYES 2021, you are going to make it an occasion where you have a springboard into your life in the future. Don't attend iYES because your friends are attending iYES. Don't attend iYES because you have other agendas. You could have, well, you are human, you could have. But depending on your desire and your attitude, make sure that you are going to get the maximum out of this conference, like these young ones came to testify, that next year, 2022, you also have a story to tell. You must be very serious about this, and when people are presenting, whether you understand them or whether you agree or not, please sit down and concentrate, because you never know. Sometimes all you need from one of the presenters is just one statement. That's all you need. So don't miss your opportunities, and please don't let anybody also distract you, because the truth of the matter is that we are all in the same space right now in this auditorium. We are all in the same space, but we are not all in the same place. I'm going to repeat it here. I don't feel live here. I said we are all in the same space, but we are not all in the same place. You've got to understand that. So somebody may be seated here and their mind is somewhere else. They are in a different zone. They are in a different place. But let everything be yourself here. And the second thing is that you must determine to maximize this opportunity that you have. Because many times opportunities will come to you in this life in disguise. And the opportunity that you have today is that you must determine to be empowered so that you go out there and be distinct and be positioned for the next level. The Honorable Minister, the MP, talked to you about learning. And there are 3 dynamics about becoming a very good student. The first thing is that you learn. The second thing is that you must be humble enough to unlearn some of the things you have learned. That is the most difficult place. Then the third thing is to relearn. So learn, unlearn, and then you relearn. Many times we are stuck in places in our lives because we are not humble enough to unlearn some of the things that we have been taught whose relevance may have passed. It's important that you understand that. Its relevance may have passed. When I was growing up here in Ghana, the late 70s or 80s, you dare not go to church without a 3-piece suit. I mean, you had to wear a woolen 3-piece suit in this hot temperature and sweat. But I had to go into another situation where suits were not necessary. If you wear a suit, it became like where are you going to? So you had to quickly unlearn some of the things that you have learned. Then you have to relearn the new thing. Now, a lot have been said, so I will not repeat too many of these things. But unless you are living under a rock, you and I know that we are in the time of global upheaval. There's a lot of global upheaval, which has not really helped because of this coronavirus pandemic. And I will implore you, I don't know who has talked before me, maybe there'll be medical people who will come in and talk, but please do not take this pandemic for granted. The bullet is still in the chamber, and you never know. Some of the finest minds in our world today, the scientists, still can't wrap their minds around this virus. This virus seems like having a mind of its own. And if you have any information behind the scenes, they are thinking about new variants beginning to mutate out of this. It's like this virus is just mocking the whole world. And it's not a virus for old people. It's a virus for humanity. So we've got to be very, very careful about that. But on the other side too, let's not make this pandemic our only issue in the world. Because if you make it the only issue, a whole lot of things will bypass you, especially opportunities. Many, many years ago in Pastor Brian's city in London of England, there was an epidemic. It was a cholera epidemic. And people by their hundreds or possibly thousands were dying every day. And one of my mentors through books, I went to his college many years ago, Charles Spurgeon, he says every day he stood and preached hope. That is why I like to preach hope to people and let people know that there's no hopeless situation. Because as I'm talking to you right now, you may not see the stars up there, but the stars haven't gone on vacation. They are still there. But if you want to see stars, darkness is required. And so in the midst of your darkness, that is where the stars of life must shine brighter. But Charles Spurgeon says something that this epidemic has not come to destroy us, but it has come to reveal us. And I believe that this coronavirus pandemic has not come to destroy us, but rather it has come to reveal us. And there are opportunities. This past few months, 12, 14 months, about 6 to 7 million new millionaires have been added to the rich list in the world in this pandemic time. About 6 to 7 million brand new millionaires have been added. My question is, why are you not one of them? Why are you not one of them? You don't need a vote to become a millionaire. You don't need to steal to become a millionaire. God gave you brains between your 2 ears. And in every problem, there's a solution. And in the midst of trouble, in the midst of darkness, the one who has a light becomes the leader. And so sitting here in this room is enough power and ability to change the world. And realize that we can talk about the fact that in the midst of the pandemic, we became all that God had determined for us to be. Whatever is somebody's barrier must become your door. Whatever is somebody's challenge must become your opportunity. You must look at life from that way. That even though this present pandemic has brought a lot of doom and gloom and destruction and job losses, could you also create a job, even at a young age? Could you find an opportunity to do something with your life? Now I realize that in the world today, there's a lot of anger, there's a lot of outrage, there's a lot of rage amongst the youth, that there must be a change. Something has got to change. And I'm in total agreement with you. But my question is, are you ready for the change? Have you been prepared for what has been prepared for you? Because if you don't get yourself ready and the change comes, then you are going to be like the person who puts on their seatbelt after their car has crashed. Just think about that. It's important that you understand that. So I just want to help you a little bit to become a bridge builder between my generation and your generation. And I know that, Pastor Brian, we are streaming, aren't we? And I know whether we are streaming, we are streaming and people will listen and that kind of thing. And I just want to tell my generation that it's about time for us to begin to think about the new generation that is coming up. The reason why there's so much agitation, I believe, is because we are not helping the new generation to come up. President John F. Kennedy said that those who make peaceful revolution impossible make violent revolution inevitable. Never forget that. If we make peaceful revolution impossible, then naturally we are going to give birth to violent revolution. And I'm sure the Honorable Okudjato Ablako have said a lot of things that I'm just not going to be there. And so then I'll talk a little bit to the older generation, my generation, to make their shoulders ready. And I'm talking to you young ones in 10-15 minutes, and I'm going to sit down also to prepare yourself to take over and see further. One of my painful observations as I've traveled all over the world is that there's transitional failure. We've not been able to really transition because the older generation are entrenched in their power grabbing, in their money grabbing, their everything. And for the life of me, I don't understand, and I know I'm speaking to the world, and I hope somebody hears it somewhere, that for the life of me, Pastor Brian, I don't understand why 90-year-olds in Africa are still trying to run for elections for the next 8 years. Well, I didn't ask you to clap, and nobody will arrest you for clapping, so you can clap. I just can't get it. You know, I just can't get it. I mean, I've been agitating it for a lot. I want, even right now, as I said, I want somebody to take over my job, like Pastor Brian will take. I've been telling him, come and take over my job, and you have more strength, you have more energy, you can jump higher, you can run faster, I don't understand. You are 90 years old and you are still planning for the next 8 years to become a president. What is wrong with you? What have you been smoking? Do you love your country enough to understand that every good thing must come to an end? So please, young people, get yourself ready. Am I making sense? Get yourself ready. The opportunity will come. Abraham Lincoln said, I will prepare myself and one day my time will come. So whilst you are here, I hear some of them have spoken about this. Don't use your gift. Don't use your time. Don't use your talent to be creative in things that don't matter. I don't want to meet you one day and I ask you what you do. You say, I'm the minister for unnecessary affairs. And I'm the deputy minister for useless information. You don't run a country. You don't run a corporate entity with that. Listen, Ghana, please listen to me. You don't have to insult your way to gain attention. You must have some class about you. You must have some dignity about you. And social media is very powerful. Whether we like it or not, social media is king. And some of you are so amazing. But please hear me and hear me well. Social media is not a weapon. Social media is a tool. And there's a difference. Social media is not a weapon that you use to fight. It's a tool that you use to get a point across. It's important that you understand that. And so please, before you press send on your device, on your phone, your laptop, iPad, whatever you use, before you press send, please think carefully about it. Because the internet never forgets. You are going to post something today, and next 5-10 years, you are going to be a minister or the president, and they are going to bring it up like you said it last night. and you are going to look like the poster child for food. I hope I'm making sense to somebody. So please be aware of the power of the media. And so let me talk to these two generations. I have a few minutes and I'm done, about 8 minutes. To the older generation, my generation, for the love of God, for the love of your country, for the love of the world, and especially for the love of these young ones that we are talking to, please prepare yourself to hand over to the next generation. Prepare yourself to hand over. This is a conversation Africa must have, Ghana must have. Prepare yourself to hand over to the next generation. It is. You are not going to be here forever. You know, the man, you gave me a cake. Now you're going to write me a letter why you didn't give me a cake. But listen, a day will come that you are going to be so old, when they give you a cake, you sink your teeth in the cake, your teeth will remain in the cake. You have more candles on the cake than you yourself can stand. When they say blow, you blow you blow 3 and your breath is over. It is going to be over. And so please understand that you cannot be a president forever. You are not going to be a minister forever. You are not going to be a bishop forever. You are not going to be a manager forever, a CEO forever. Whatever, nature will make sure of it. Please don't forget that. You know, a friend of mine told a story and gave an illustration. He went to a funeral and he sat at the back watching people pay their last respects to the corpse who was in the casket. And after he died down a bit, he decided to go and pay his respect. And this man who was in the casket was one of the greatest American athletes ever. But he had died and they had laid him in state. And my friend said when he went near the casket, he saw something that really hit him. Of course, they had dressed the man to represent what he used to do. Very great athlete. If I mention this name, I'm sure some of you may have heard. But he said he looked into the casket, and in the hands of the dead person was a baton. Baton. And so after that, he asked himself, much as a symbolic, could it be possible that the world today, the great ones, the older ones, my generation, we are dying with our batons still in our hands. And we are not handing it over to the next generation. So my generation, let me say something to you. Please, do not die, do not exit this world with your baton in your hands. Position the next generation very well so that they can take over from where you left off. Let them experience things and let them see things that are very important. Power comes through responsibility, and great power comes through great responsibility. Young ones, please listen to me. Life is not a series of miracles. There is something called hard work. There's something called pay now, you play later. All that you see here just didn't happen. Pastor Brian has been in and out of Ghana for a long time. We talk a lot. So I know hard work. So older ones, please pour your life into the younger ones. And younger ones, do that. Because what is the point in letting the young ones go to the choir practice every day and not giving them an opportunity to sing on the platform? We can't forever tell them your time will come. When would their time come? So let's prepare them. Now to the young ones, and I'm beginning to walk off. Position yourself for the opportunities that are coming. You ask me what time, what day, I don't know. But anything can happen. Life as you have known it today can change tomorrow. One of the greatest leaders of some time past is Winston Churchill. He led the United Kingdom through the Second World War. He was a parliamentarian. He was an MP. He lost elections. They wrote him off. They said he would never become anything again. In 1940, they invited him to come and lead England through the Second World War. He did an amazing thing. You can Google and read about him. But he says something in the book. Now, for those of you who don't like books with no pictures, you may not like that book, because the book doesn't have pictures. But it's a big book. But read books about great people. And Pastor Brown, the man said that when he was invited to come to the Prime Minister and he made his first speech to Parliament, he said, all my life, I felt like I was walking with destiny. Somebody listening to me today, you feel that you have been born for something particular in Ghana. It is on the inside of you. You may not be able to articulate it now. You may not be able to share it, but it's something seated deep on the inside of you that you cannot shake off. That there is greatness on the inside of you crying out for expression. You may not look like it. People may not even think you are, but you know that there's something on the inside of you. And in this room today, I will not be surprised if our next president comes out of here. I will not be surprised if our next Bill Gates and Steve Jobs and Brian Martins and all these people come out of here. You are seated here. Don't look at the cover. Don't judge a book by the cover. It's what is on your inside. Something is bending on the inside. You feel like you are walking with destiny. But Churchill said that it was after I was called to become a prime minister that I realized that all my trial, all my pain, all my tears had prepared me for this leadership. Whatever you are going through today is preparation. And so how do you prepare? Two things, and I'm gone. You must learn to stand on the shoulders of people who have gone ahead of you. Don't write off the people who have stood ahead of you, like Pastor Brian said. Anytime Pastor Brian is faced with some heavy duty things, guess what? The first person he will call. He will pick my brains. And whatever I'm doing, I stop. If I can't immediately prefer an advice, I tell him, give me a few minutes, let me process it, let me quit. And he knows, and I'll call. It was Sir Isaac Newton, the man who discovered the law of gravity, who said that if I have learned to see far, it's because I've learned to stand on the shoulders of giants. You must learn to stand on the shoulders of giants. When I talk about giants, my generation must be able to give you our wisdom, our knowledge, our connections, our experiences, our goodwill, our training, so that you can run the next lap with the baton that we have placed in your hands. And I pray that this transition, we will not fail. We give you our shoulders to walk on. So how do you do that? If you are writing this, then write these three things, then I'm going to say hasta la vista. Number one, find a good leader and follow them. Find a good leader. The Honorable Sam Okujato Ablakwa talked about the fact that it's time for us to think. That leader doesn't have to come from your tribe. It doesn't have to speak your language. I don't know where we got it wrong in this nation, where all of a sudden we are so polarized. Along tribal lines, along color lines. Listen, it doesn't matter whether you are tall or short, black or white, whether you are striped or polka dot. We all carry red blood. It's important that you understand. So find a leader and follow that leader. In the Bible, there's a story. I'm keeping myself away from preaching, but there's a transitional story between Elijah and Elisha. If you want to Bible studies and things, you know about them. And Elisha transitioned his authority, his mantle, to Elisha, the new one. I've seen a lot of interesting things happen today when people are asking you, give me your mantle, find your mantle for me, do this for me. I've gone to places, people have rushed for my handkerchief, say, Papa, that is the mantle, can I have it? I'll give you my wet handkerchief. If it has bacteria, that is your business. But I understand the spiritual implications, don't get me wrong, I'm not trying to denigrate it, but sometimes we make that thing the issue rather than learning. I don't care, listen, I don't care how anointed anybody is. If that person lays their hands on a fool who has refused to learn and change, that person will be an anointed fool. I hope I'm making sense. Now, listen, I don't like it when people attempt to clap and don't clap. So if that's better. That makes me feel better. You know, half clap, what is that? You know, last Sunday I was preaching and I made a very powerful statement and people were going to say amen. Then I got only 5 amens and about 500 half amens. The half amens, the men said, then they realized their wives were sitting. They said, So it's amen and half amen. So I don't need any half claps. If you are clapping, just clap well. Is that okay? But you know, Elijah invited Elisha to come into his life so he can pour something on him by throwing his mantle on him. It was an invitation. And the next thing you see is that Elisha began to follow Elijah. Young people, listen. Find somebody who has a proven track record. Find somebody who has an experience. Find somebody who has done something that inspires you and follow them. Don't follow a man or a woman without a history. Don't follow a man or a woman that you don't know where they have come from. Because we live in a uniquely dangerous world where people just appear. Can you point to where they are coming from? You know, I don't know, the minister alluded to something, but Pastor Brian, being who he is and what he's doing in the world, naturally, you know, there are always people who try to hate him. And anytime people try to hate Pastor Brian and it goes viral, you know, he becomes very popular. Imagine, I get phone calls, I get texts. He's your son. What did that? And I kind of laugh. And I say, it's a growing process. Pastor Brian will be okay. If you want to get him, come get me first. You know, it's important that you understand that. Listen, open your eyes, young ones. Open your eyes and seize opportunities that the older generation can give to you. They will shorten your learning curve. I was talking to somebody the other day, and this young guy kept telling me, Papa, I want to learn from my own experience. And I said, what if you don't survive your experience? What if you don't survive it? I like to learn from experience, but I prefer other people's experience. Because when somebody mentors you, it's the experience without the pain. So learn. Find people. Again, half claps. It's the mentor without the pain. Chase after them. Do you know, every year that I've been here in iYES, and after this, please don't come to me. I hear social distancing, so be very far. Every year that I came to iYES, Pastor Brian, there will be at least 1, 2, 3. So many people who rush me and say, Papa, when you were speaking, God told me that you are my father, you are my mentor. And 100% of them, I've said yes. And after I say yes, I stand back and I watch them. Next year when I see them, it's like they are angry. I thought you were my father. Yes, I am. But don't you know that when you plant a seed in the ground will resist it and kill it first before it gives it life? So if you say something, ask him how many times I've tried to kill him. What if when I was killing him, he had run away or got an attitude? You don't know some of the things I've done to this young man on purpose. He will tell you. He will just text me and I'll make sure I'll read it for it to indicate that I have read it for him to know, but I don't mind him. And the man will eat. He will eat. His wife will call and say, Papa, what's good? I say, leave it for me and him. It's all part of the mentoring thing because you need a backbone. This generation, you are spoiled. This sense of entitlement. I can't believe it's happening to me. Listen, you are a believer and it's happening to you. You've got to have some backbone. You've got to be strong. I hope I'm not wasting your time. And I see it all the time. Listen, your leaders are not going to have time to text you, to call you, to DM you, to ask you how are you doing. No, you have to pursue them. So with me, read my lips, everybody. If you think I'm going to chase you, it's not going to happen. It will not happen because I am giving you exposure. Somebody say exposure. Oh, that is weak. Say exposure. Let me tell you something. One of the greatest gifts any leader, any whatever can give to you is exposure. Exposure. Because once you get exposed to something, nobody can unexpose you. Never forget that. Exposure. I am begging you, iYES, Ghana, Africa, don't be satisfied with being a village champion. Listen, when they are clapping for you in your little village, one day you go to the city and realize that you are nothing. So let somebody expose you to something that will challenge you. There's a guy in your Bible, he's called Simon Peter. All his life, he had fished on the sea called Galilee. It never occurred to him that a human being could walk on water. Because to him, human beings don't walk on water. They are heavier than that. They sink. Until one day he saw his mentor walking on water. And Peter was exposed to that possibility. And he said, Lord, if it is you, let me come. And Jesus said, come. And then Simon Peter also began to do it. He did what his mentor was doing. And so when we expose you to something, it is not for you to be jealous. Oh, he has this house. He has this car. And so, no, I am exposing you to possibilities. One day, I called a particular individual. Pastor Brian, I called a particular individual. I had to take my car for, I think there was a recall, something. It was a national recall. So I drove the car there myself. Then I called that individual. I did that on purpose. I didn't let any of my kids do it. As I called that individual, I said, come and give me a ride back home. And when that person got there, I said, get out of your car and come and see something. And I walked this person to the latest of my latest. And I said, sit in that car. The person sat in that car and said, whoa. And I said, turn it on. I mean, that dealership, if you have a car like that, you are not a thief who is going to run away with cars. So just go ahead. And the person called me and said, why did you do that to me? And I said, why? Being a Ghanaian, I also answered the question with a question. You know that? Is that not how Ghanaians do it? Somebody asked a Ghanaian the other day, I hear Ghanaians, you answer questions and he said, who told you? You know, so we do that. And I said, why are you saying that? And the person said, since I sat in that car, There's something on the inside of me that doesn't make me even like my car. And he said, whatever I must drive. You see, I gave that person exposure. And exposure expands your expectation. So find a leader and follow that leader. Number 2, observe the leader. Then I'm done. Observe the leader. Because please listen, if you get to work with Pastor Brian and you're observing Pastor Brian, it is an open university without school fees. He's mentoring you for free. But what you observe can either form you or deform you, based on the wisdom or the lack of thereof that you put there. When you get close to leaders, you are going to see some things. You are going to see a human being, not just a gift. Ghana, I know you celebrate a lot of gifts. People can just show up in 2 years and tell you they have 17 houses and you are clapping for them. You have to find the person rather than the gift, because the gift doesn't say anything about the person. It's the character that says everything about the person. We must learn to celebrate that. So when you see a human being and you are observing the person, please watch and behave wisely. Watch and learn. You may meet an Elijah who can call fire from heaven, and yet a woman threatens him and is depressed. He is still a leader. So it can teach you that great leaders also can run away from women and threats and be depressed. You may see a Peter, Simon Peter in your Bible, who is committing murder, cutting off ears. I don't believe that Peter was cutting off an ear. He went for something better, he missed, then he got the ear. I mean, who would defend himself by going for your ear? He wanted something better. But thank God there are some things you missed. I'm not going to preach to you, but go ahead. You can even see a Jesus who was a man of sorrows, acquainted with grief. So when you hang around leaders and you see their shortcomings, please don't laugh. Learn. Don't mock. Learn. Don't dishonor. Learn. Don't spread the news. Learn. Don't use them as an example. Learn. Pastor Brown, I think I'm done because of your time. Okay, one thing. So not only must you follow the leader, you must observe the leader, then learn to serve that person. Serve that person. Serve that person. Because this is also another free education that I know today it has come under a lot of attacks. Please listen. There are a lot of keyboard warriors. Social media fighters who fight everything, including ancient wisdom landmarks. But I know that this thing that I'm talking about, serving somebody else into your greatness, has come under a lot of attack. And it still does not negate the fact that it is still a great principle. Some people have misused it. We've seen it in this country, a whole lot of things that are coming up. But it is so true. Please listen. Seven is the labor word where greatness is given birth to. 7 is the labor word where greatness is birthed. Jesus Christ himself said that if you want to be great, you must learn to serve. The man who was God in person on earth was in a room that nobody would serve. He stripped himself. He took off all his royal garments and all his rabbinical garments and things. He made himself of nothing. And he took a towel, the identity of a servant, a slave, and he went down on his feet and he washed the feet of people he knew would betray him not too many hours from there. Honest to God, Pastor Brian, if I were Jesus and I was washing feet and I got to Simon Peter and I knew he would betray me Judas, and I knew this is the guy who would betray me, I'll call for more hot water. I'll finish the man. A super hot. But Jesus won't even betray us. And the people who walk away from him, who will say they swear by the 77 gods of Cape Coast that they don't know him, he still washed their feet. And then when he finished, he said, I'm leaving an example for you, that the Son of Man did not come to be served, but rather to serve and lay down his life as a ransom. Listen, there are some aspects of our culture that we need to question and we need to turn its head around. The dynamics of the kingdom of God is diametrically opposed to our dynamics. Our dynamic says that if you want to go up, step on other people's heads. Do that. But Jesus is saying if you want to go up, just go down. You don't ascend into greatness, you descend into greatness. When you go down, God will lift you up. So if you think you are too big for small jobs, God sees you as too small for big jobs. Serve. Give yourself somewhere. Don't be too arrogant. The Chinese people have this proverb that the rice, the rice plant that carries the biggest grain, they bow the lowest. I have traveled a lot in places where, because of my intentionally putting myself in a humble situation, I've been abused. But I made up my mind that I am not going to descend into the gutter with people who don't get it. So please, serve. As you serve somebody, people will ask you questions. People will mock you. People will laugh at you. People will not understand you. Some may think you are even a fool and cut you off. But serve. Serve faithfully. It's not everything that you must serve with money. You must get a reward with money. The experience matters more than the money. Serve gratefully. If nobody sees you, God sees you. And so iYES today, on your first day, this is what I want to leave with you. May the Lord help you. May the Lord bring you into that transitional power and authority. You are the leaders that we are looking for. So that one day, I'll also be 300 years old and I'll sit back and I'll watch you run this nation very well. God bless you.
Please, we are going to take...
I don't like difficult questions. If you're going to ask a difficult question, ask Pastor Brian.
Question, please. All right. Over there.
Okay. Let me do here, and then I'll come to the other side. There's one here, so let's do here.
Where? Okay.
Thank you, Pastor. You said something about having exposure. And one thing that I have learned for some years now is that sometimes when you expose some people to a lot of things, it creates hatred amongst you. The more you expose them, they want to derive what you have on the wrong way. They will not actually ask you. So I wanted to find out that is it good to expose people on a high speed? Or we should just expose them on a shallow way?
Okay, you have to qualify people before you bring them into your bedroom. Pastor Brian has been in my bedroom several times at my home in Atlanta. And I'm surrounded by hundreds or possibly thousands of people, church, whatever. I can count on the tips of my fingers how many people have come into my bedroom before. Pastor Brian comes to Atlanta all the time. There are some things we go into my bedroom to go and talk about. It's because I've qualified him, that I can trust him and I know him and I expose him to things. Let me tell you a story. This friend that I told you about, the casket situation, he said another story, Pastor Brian. He went to South Africa to speak to about 10,000 leaders. And when he had finished, he was given an opportunity to go on a safari, a boat safari. It was getting to the evening. And they were looking at some of the exotic animals, lions, elephants, everything. They were watching them. Then all of a sudden, there was an agitation around in the environment. So, excuse me. My friend asked the captain of the boat, why are all the animals agitated? And the captain of the boat said, tonight there's going to be a kill. And he said, what is the kill? He said, the lions are going to hunt in the night. And the other animals know, so they are jittery. Everybody is trying to, protect themselves. Now, all of a sudden, they see all the lions and the lionesses get ready to attack a herd of elephants who were also going through the forest like no grass. Because there was going to be a kill. He said something caught his attention. He saw a female lion, a lioness, pick up her two little cubs and take them up a little mound, a little hill, and set them there so that they can observe what was going on. And as he looked at that thing, he asked the captain, why is the lioness putting the little cubs out there? That is dangerous. And the captain said, this is how they are training the young ones to take over from the older ones. They want them to observe everything. Observe everything. That this is how we kill to eat. The thing about it is that when you expose people, you are teaching. So there are times that you must let people see. We must let people know. We must let people know what we go through. You half clap again. I know I'm talking to Ghana. Listen, parents, let your children at a point, at some age, as I say right now, my children are a little bit, my last one is 21. You know, my oldest is 37 or something. I got married when I was just 3 years old. You know, so there are some things about my life, my finances, my everything. I've shown them everything. I've told them if anything happens to me today, and anything can happen, me, your mother, and things, this is the number to call. This is what will come to you. This is what. One time, my oldest daughter came to me. I was sitting at the dining table writing some things. And she said, Daddy, what are you doing? I said, I'm writing some things in my will. He said, oh, Daddy, your will, why are you going to die? I said, Nana, I will die. What are you like? Right now, I'm about 400 years old, but maybe by 470, I will die. So please, you must learn how and where to expose people gradually. If you test them and they are jealous, close them and don't let them come close. Okay, one more then and let me sit down.
Over there.
Prof, before I go to that side.
Okay.
Papa, good afternoon.
Good afternoon, sir.
I'm very happy seeing you this afternoon.
Me too, I'm very happy.
I am a very young preacher, and I can spend a whole night, doing all night, not doing anything, but listening to your preaching.
But I will spend all night talking.
I've watched your video, and you speak with 2 minutes without breathing.
Oh, I breathe. I would have been dead by now.
Yes.
So I understand what you're saying. I understand. Go ahead.
I want to ask.
Yes.
How did you start it?
How do I study?
Or what is your secret?
Now, you want the secret. If I tell you the secret, is there a secret anymore? All right. People get fascinated with this. But listen to me, everybody. You will never be able to give what is not on the inside of you first. So, I'm standing here. I am painfully aware of the fact that I am gifted. I am anointed. I'm not trying to blow a horn. But if you are very close to me, you realize that I work hard. I work hard. I kid you not. I mean, when I say hard, I work, I study. At the age of 58 or 59, some years back, I was commuting between Atlanta and Belgium several times a year. Because I decided I have more degrees than a thermometer, but I still wanted to be very good. I commuted, Pastor Brian knows that, and I was doing another executive master's degree in the University of Belgium in governance and policy development. Because I know that I'm coming back home to Ghana. I'm going to engage politicians. I'm going to talk to them. You see, when we are dealing with politics, when we are dealing with nation building, that is not where you go to quote scriptures and speak in tongues. You must carry your prophetic anointing to go to the boardroom to solve technological problems. So, the long and the short is that, brother, I work hard. I've been doing this forever, and I'm done. Can I go away?
Say this. How many of you are in Legon? Oh, Legon people. Oh, only a few people came from Legon. Do you know BAM Library? Do you know BAM Library? I was in Legon, so do you know BAM Library? I've been to Daddy's study. The books there are more than the books in BAM Library. That shows you how he reads. So I asked him, have you read all these? He said he has read each book over 5 times. Yes.
And can I say something, then I can go? Please listen. Don't buy a television that is bigger than your bookshelf.
All right. Please, someone asked. Okay, someone had to type this, that the way you're looking so young with your, how old are you?
Oh, how old am I? How young am I? I'm 64.
Yes. Okay, someone also asked, if the leader you follow tell his colleagues about what you discuss with him or her, or uses it as an example when talking, what do you do? Do you unfollow that leader?
Not necessarily, because some of the leaders may be leading by their gift, but not by their character. And there are some mistakes that when some people do, like using you as an example, quoting you, that kind of thing, instinctively, it must show and tell you that hold your things to your chest from now. Maybe they will grow later and they will understand. But if he's your mentor and you keep telling him things like that, then he's going to be your tormentor.
Please, again, repeat it.
Maybe they need to repeat later. But listen, If the person is your mentor and you tell him things or her things and they use you as they may not mention your name, but just the example, if anybody listening has the brains of a fish, they know they are talking about you. And you need to protect yourself and protect your interest. And keep it to yourself. You don't, for me, I wouldn't say you must instantly unfollow, because it could be that you caught the person on a bad day. But if they do that constantly, once it's an instant, twice coincidence, but after 3, you've got to watch yourself.
Let's clap our hands. Please, let's appreciate Dr. Rev.Ofosu Appiah.